Hello. In this video, I'm going to talk about a couple of scorecards that revolve around depreciation and assets and things like that. So where I want to start with that is looking at the data entry sheet here. And so I would create a spreadsheet for your school where you'd be able to give me a list of all of your assets and depreciable items and things like that. So we'll go through these fields one by one. The first one is obviously just your school system. This is all obviously fake data for a test system that I use. First thing here would be an asset name. This is something that's not going to be super long, but would just be a way to identify which asset you're talking about. The notes field you can really use for whatever you want. You have 255 characters to do with really whatever you want. So you can put information on how many of the items there are and where the money came from or something like that. Also, if your school uses an asset management system, you may have asset tags on some of your items. And so you could put that asset tag number in there as well. So you can do with that whatever you need to. The next field here is the asset category, and this would be required for you to fill out where you have a choice here of a number of items, facilities and buildings and vehicles, technology, things like that, other. If you're not sure where to put some of these items, I think some of them will be self-explanatory, but if some of them not as much so, the field header here is a link to a document that would give you some more information on how to categorize your items. So vehicles and transportation includes things like school buses, vans and district vehicles, maintenance trucks, and large ground equipment, things with a title, whereas instructional equipment is things like science and lab equipment and physical education equipment and things like that. So that is available to you right there as a link. We'll go through the next field here, purchase date, purchase price, and useful life. So these are really kind of the most important fields here. These would all be required for every one of the items that you have. When did you purchase it? How much did you purchase it for? And then your estimate of the useful life of that piece of equipment. And so for this one here, you can see that it was purchased December 4th, 2011 for $45,000, and that they estimate that this HVAC unit would be good for about 20 years. The next couple of fields are not required fields. So these are optional fields that you can fill in to override some default behavior. The estimated replacement cost, for example, if this is something that you absolutely know how much you're going to be spending on a new external school building when the time comes, you can put that in here and that will override the default behavior. The default behavior in this estimated replacement cost is going to be to use an inflation rate, and each of these categories inflate at a different rate. And so again, this is a link if you want to see what some of that means. This is that same document as the categories, but down below it shows you what inflation rate I'm using for each of these categories, and you can see that facilities and buildings inflate at a much higher rate than technology or instructional equipment and things like that. So the default behavior is to use this depreciation rate, but you absolutely have control over if you know how much the replacement cost is going to be, you can use that instead. Very similar to this replacement date. The obvious default behavior is to take the purchase date and then add the useful years to it, and that gives you a default replacement date. But if this is something, again, if you absolutely know that the route bus 1, you know that you're going to replace that in May of 2035, you can put that date in here, and that will override any of the behavior that that I have in here from those automatic calculations. So that's up to you, and I'll show you in a minute where all of that shows up. The last field here is the status. This is just a calculated field that looks at your purchase date and your useful life, and if it is beyond that useful life, it says fully depreciated here. And this is just a way for you to kind of see what some of your older equipment is, what's beyond its useful life. Here, I should mention that all of these fields are sortable. So if you wanted to sort any of these for these are the current ones and these are the fully depreciated ones, or if you want to see what you purchased the longest time ago, you can see that, and these are the most recent purchases here. All of these things are sortable, so categories here, et cetera, et cetera. And so you'd be able to use this as kind of a worksheet to enter that. The next thing I want to show you is where all of this data goes. It goes into two separate scorecards, and the first one I'm going to show you is called the fully depreciated scorecard. And as we looked at here, some of these things are beyond their useful life. So this teacher desks were purchased in 1997 with a useful life of 20 years, so that puts it at 2017, which obviously we are beyond 2017, so that is fully depreciated. So the first scorecard right here is going to pull out anything that's fully depreciated and show you that in a graph. Obviously, your data will have more items and more categories to look at, but this is kind of the first place to look, where this is going to be things that you probably need to be dealing with in the very near future, things that are beyond their useful life, and you don't have a plan for replacing them. So what we have here is the asset name and any notes that you have, purchase date, purchase price, and useful life. This is that replacement date. Again, you can override that in your sheet here. So if you had overridden the date, that's the date it would use. And then the estimated replacement cost. And so this is where that inflation rate comes in right here. So it was purchased in 1997 for $3,500. If we go back to here and see that, what are we looking at? We are looking at furniture and fixtures, and furniture and fixtures inflate at a rate of 2.5%. And you can see on this scorecard that if you look at $3,500 at 2.5% inflation rate to today's date, it will be the replacement cost is estimated at $7,100 there. So this would be a list of anything that is fully depreciated and with an estimated replacement cost. So this is the first place you would look to see what are some things we need to deal with as a school right now. I should point out here that we had 1, 2, 3 items that were fully depreciated, in that they are beyond their useful life from the purchase date. But remember, you get to override that behavior. So this right here, smartboard number 2, has a useful life of 7 years, was purchased in 2014, so that would be 2021. But if you absolutely know you're going to buy another round of smartboards in 2027, you can put that in there. And so you can see that those smartboards don't actually appear on your fully depreciated scorecard because you've overridden that behavior. So that's the first place you would look. The next place you're going to look is this depreciation scorecard, which shows what the future looks like for the next 10 years. It shows what the future looks like for the next 10 years and then lists all of your future depreciation dates here. So this graph up at the top only goes to 10 years, and you can see that the highest year here is 2035, 2036. But clearly there are items that fully depreciate beyond those years. So they are listed, they're just not shown in the graph, just for you to know that. But what this shows you is that what's coming up in the next several years that you might have to deal with. And so we can see here pretty clearly that 2034, 2035, there's going to be a big purchase. It's going to be a vehicle and transportation purchase. The green bar here, green means vehicles transportation. There's also some equipment and appliances and site and land improvements there. So you know that as a school, you need to be preparing for this school year coming up for a big purchase. And if you want to see the information on that, the details on that, you can just scroll down to school year 2034, 2035 and see what those are. And so in this instance here, that's the Route 1 bus that we were talking about, as well as a walk-in freezer and a water sprinkler system. And so all of the individual items for that particular year are going to be listed here in descending order of their price. So you can see the biggest purchases up at the top and the smallest purchase down at the bottom. So that's going to show you that right there. You can see that there's a big, it looks like facilities building coming up in 2031, 2032. And as you scroll down there, you can see that's the cafeteria HVAC unit for $98,000. With that estimated replacement cost right there. So this is an important thing to be looking at, that you can look at each year to kind of see where your big purchases are coming up in the future. Again, this graph only shows 10 years. If you scroll down here, there's also a very large purchase. Apparently, the external school building will reach its useful life in 2040, and that's estimated at a $310,000 replacement value. That's not shown on the graph because it's so many years into the future, so that as you look at this year over year, that year will eventually be in that 10-year range, and you'll be able to see that. What you can do with this, I should actually point out one other thing here, that there is a color coding. Red highlights indicate fully depreciated. So again, if we go back, you can see that smartboard number 2 is fully depreciated, but we overrode the date, the replacement date. So you can see that 7/1/2027 falls into the 27-28 school year. And so this is just highlighting that it is fully depreciated, but you've indicated that you're going to replace it in this school year here. And so that's what that shows there. Finally, at the end of the school year, as these things get replaced, what you would do is you would update this sheet, and next year I would create a new set of scorecards. So you'd be able to go through, if you disposed of, for example, this smartboard right here, you would just delete that line. Or if you were disposing of any of these items, you get to delete those, and then you can just add more items to the bottom here and give them categories and enter the information there. So that is kind of the nuts and bolts of the depreciation scorecards right there. If you have any questions about this scorecard or any of the services that we provide, please don't hesitate to reach out directly at milliganschooldata@gmail.com. Thank you very much.